Bull Productions travels throughout North America to bring you action-packed video of dedicated bow hunters as they pursue big game animals under fair chase. Learn from the experts how to call, stalk, and bait in an easy, relaxed, informational series, giving you true hunting adventures in video. The first in our Grand Slam series includes moose, mountain goat, and black bear. In these 60-minute tapes, you'll observe two bow hunters pursuing mountain goat in Washington State. Fred Dean, a nationally known bow hunter, and Gary Carroll, an avid sportsman in the Northwest, stalk these beautiful cliff dwellers. If you've ever dreamed of being 15 yards from a trophy black bear, you're going to enjoy this segment. Glenn Barry, Jim Piccola, and Spencer Land bow hunt Alaska for some of the largest black bear species ever hunted over bait sites, taking 3 open young bears. 2 cameras were used to capture all the action on video. The last segment in this video series takes you far north into British Columbia, just south of the Yukon border. Glenn Barry is bow hunting moose with the Drinkall family, owners of the Folding Mountain Outfitters from Toad River, BC. This remote backcountry moose hunt shows a textbook method on calling in and shooting a record book Canadian moose with archery equipment. Now, let's meet the hunters that participated in this video. Fred Dean from Spokane, Washington has gained national recognition for his ability in shooting archery equipment in 3D competition. Gary Carroll, also from Spokane, enjoys working with his team of pack mules and bow hunting. Jim Piccola, a taxidermist from Olympia, Washington, is a member of the Big Bull Production hunting staff. Spencer Land from Dunlap, Tennessee is founder and president of High Country American Archery and an avid bow hunter and target archer. Gary Drinkall from Alberta, Canada works for his dad and brother, owners of Folding Mountain Outfitters. Glenn Barry, owner of Big Bull Productions, has designed and manufactured big game calls since 1983. Glenn has bow hunted throughout North America. On our first hunt, we joined Gary and Fred as they travel the Cascade Mountain Range. This steep, rugged mountain terrain is well suited for the Rocky mountain goat. The area they're hunting is very secluded, with pack trails that climb 3,000 feet in elevation. Gary and Fred had put in a partnership application to hunt these mountain goats and were lucky enough to draw 2 of the 20 tags for this area in Washington State. Gary is riding his favorite mule and leading his prized pack string across the Salmon-Lasac River in Washington State. This remote backcountry hunt takes a lot of preparation. Carefully packing the gear on the mules and riding in the 12 miles of horse trail is an all-day adventure. Listening to the sounds of the mules' hooves as they travel up the trail is music to the outdoorsman's ears. Upon arrival and having set up camp, a high mountain storm moves over the mountain range, reducing visibility to less than 100 yards, making it very difficult to locate game. Gary and Fred take this opportunity to do their camp chores and check their hunting equipment.
you guys. Well, we could shoot a few arrows, get some practice.
By morning, the storm had passed, and we joined Gary as he watches a band of goats.
Well, I see 7 of them down there. Looks like 2 nannies with 1 kid apiece, and 1 big nanny's got twins. It's all just a big family group. No village, looks like. They're going the other way anyway.
Heading up towards the big mountain.
Going towards the big mountain. I don't think you're going to head them off there today.
No, Fred went back after that one, so.
Well, maybe we better just leave them alone and go see if we can find you some with bigger horns.
All right.
The most popular way to hunt Rocky Mountain goat is to find a high observation point and sit for hours watching the terrain below.
Got 5 of them up there. They're right all bunched up there. Here comes the last one. That's a kid, that last one. This 3rd one may be a yearling. It seems like it's a little bit bigger than that little kid there.
Often, mountain goats feed in lower terrain and then work their way back up the mountain, finding a bedding area where they can survey the country below.
Yeah, it's a small one too.
Fred Dean has found a lone billy laying under a cliff below. The steep downward angle makes it difficult to judge the size of his horns. Fred decides to try for him. After taking off his noisy garments that could alert his quarry, Fred starts down toward his target. One of the toughest things about goat hunting is the climbing, as most of it is done in steep, rugged terrain. Often, goats bed in the same areas, and a hunter may alert his intended target by spooking another goat. Fred looks the whole area over as he stalks his quarry. Fred moves down, but runs into a steep cliff. After trying 3 different ways to climb down the cliff, Fred finds a good path and is able to get around it. Mountain goats often stand up and stretch to survey the area for danger. Fred makes his final descent, and the billy has moved directly below him. This gives Fred a straight down shot from a different cliff. Fred's arrow passes through the hair on the goat's back. Let's watch that again in slow motion as the arrow shaves off a large patch of hair from the goat. Gary joins Fred, and together they watch the goat that got away by the hair on his back.
Yes, sir. The other day, he went right along the base of the cliff. When I didn't get a shot at him. Looks like the same goat, quite frankly. Now that I had a chance to look at him from right on top again, you look at him straight down and the horns look real short.
A few days later, Fred finds a band of goats on a steep hillside. Being persistent is the key to success. Now, let's listen to Fred as he plans his stalk.
I think I can get over here and come down. Okay, I'm gonna try to go above that one cliff and sneak down through those trees, and if I can get a little ridge between me so that Nanny can't see me, I'm gonna try to drop in and get a shot downhill. He's laying perfectly if I can just get close enough for a shot. So I think it's the best route. We got a goat on here, Billy on the other side, so I can't go around. I think this is the best route right here. And I'll be taking my time. I'll take plenty of time.
As Fred moves into position to begin his stalk, Glenn Barry, who is operating the camera, decides to film the action from the side. There is only a few days left to hunt, and Glenn knows it would handicap Fred's stalk to follow him from behind. The actual length of time for Fred to make this stalk was 2 hours. As Fred moves to within bow range, he encounters more goats. One stands up in front of him, offering a 40-yard shot. Fred draws back and shoots, making a fatal shot. After waiting 30 minutes, Fred begins to trail the billy. Unexpectedly, he jumps him and is surprised to see that the goat is still on his feet. The goat is standing 40 yards away. Fred waits for a good angle. Then he realizes a second shot may run the goat right off the steep cliff. He waits a few moments, and the billy goes down. Fred decides to go around from the top. He has made the right choice. This time, the goat was down for good.
Well, I tell you, they sure got the stamina. Never would have believed it. Well, Glenn, I'll tell you what, we've been in here 2 different times, and I don't think I've ever worked so hard and enjoyed it so much in my life. This scenery around here is tremendous, and these animals, I'll tell you, to live up here under these conditions, the stamina they have is fantastic. We pushed this one this morning, and I'd say he come around down about 300 yards. He's 10 yards from the cliff face, so we couldn't ask for a better hunt. We've got just a couple more days of season, and we lucked out and got one.
And I'll tell you, it's a real high for me. Appreciate it a lot.
Fred's mountain goat qualified for the Washington State Record Book. Fred shoots a high country sniper set at 78 pounds. In our next hunting segment, we travel way up north to Prince of Wales Island, Alaska, to hunt spring black bears. Let's join Jim Piccola as he has a bruin coming into his bait site. On this bait site, we have positioned 2 cameras, one behind the shooter and the other a mere 10 feet from the bait. Jim looks this bruin over by judging the size of his head. Often bears with large ears and a long pointed nose are young bears or females. This one looks like a record book bear. In the Pope and Young scoring system, they've combined the measurement of the length and the width of the skull. These measurements must equal 18 inches to qualify for the record book. A hunter must be patient and wait for the right shot. This bruin gives Jim the perfect angle by quartering away. Let's watch this again in slow motion from the shooter's perspective.
Looked like a pretty good shot. We got our tree stand set pretty high. They're about 20 feet up, and the shot was about 18 yards or so. So I shot him down pretty high. I think I took out both lungs though. Shot him with a new High Country Extreme, set on about 80 pounds, with a 24-13 arrow and an Anderson broadhead 2-blade. He sounded like he probably went about, I'd say about 20 or 30 yards. We heard him go down. I think we can crawl out of this tree here in a few seconds here and go get him. It's been a few minutes. Nice bear. Looks like about a 19-inch bore. All right. Well, finally got myself a bear here. One of the bigger ones we've seen here on Prince William Sound. All I can say is I can't wait to come back again and do it again next year.
Jim Piccola's Alaskan black bear scored just under 19 inches and squared 6 feet. Glenn Berry has the next hunt. Glenn brought along camouflage netting to place behind him to break up his outline. Bears have poor eyesight, but can easily pick up movement against light-colored backgrounds. It's very important to wear a safety belt when using a tree stand. Glenn saw a trophy black bear 3 days earlier that circled the bait, but wouldn't come in. 2 hours later, Glenn sees the same bear walking down the gravel road. What a trophy! But he's pulling the same old tricks. He turns and goes back into the brush. For the next hour, Glenn gets brief glimpses of him as he circles the bait. Finally, the bear starts toward the bait. This behavior is common practice for large boars. They like to circle the area, keeping the smaller bears away from the bait. Then return at dark to feed. This bear comes in just close enough to check the bait and then turns and walks away. Making only one mistake: looking back. Let's watch this again in slow motion.
Boy, that was a big bear. I'd say anywhere about 20-inch bear, 20 half-inch. Looking at him, he was a smart guy. He came in, and first he came down the road, as you've seen in the video. Then he circled around behind one of our cameramen in the tree, and actually was looking in the tree stand, trying to see if he can see him. Then he circled back around and came in this time. That bear wasn't going to come into the bait. He was just patrolling the area. And the big thing about after you've shot an animal like that with a bow and arrow, don't get any big rushes. Right now, I've got plenty of time. And I tell you, to be honest with the viewers, the first thing we do, we come out of the trees and we look over the situation. You know, that would look like a perfect arrow hit. The first step is always to look everything over, you know, the hit, the amount of time that you have, where you last heard him. I've heard the bear run through there, cross the gravel road, and go into a thicket over there, and then I heard a bunch of brush break, and I heard what we call a moan or a death moan, something like that. And I'm sure he's over in that area. But to be truly honest with the viewers, I never bring a camera in to find an animal unless we see it go down. Now, most of the time we go in there, we find the animal, then we bring the camera in. The reason is we want to be real quiet when we come up on the animal, make sure he's down for good. If you get in there and you're too noisy and you're talking with your friends, hollering back and forth, you could spook the animal, make him run 100 yards, get you out of the direction that he's going to die in, and then you'd have a problem. You'll create a problem by doing that. The best method is to go from the last place you've seen him, trail the blood slowly, make sure nobody gets up in front and disturbs the sign, and go from there. So I'm going to go out and find that bear. I'm sure he's over in that thicket. Even Spencer Land can follow this one. So, beautiful black, nice pelt, big neck. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful black bear. Got a good sized head on him, nice pelt. It's been an exciting hunt. The shot was 30 yards from my tree stand. I shot him with a High Country Ultra Extreme, beautiful performing bow. And what happened was when the bear came in, he was coming in, the wind changed a little bit, and he stuck his nose up and backed out there about 15 more yards, and I had a camera sitting next to me, so I just pushed the camera over a little bit and picked my bow up and made a 30-yard shot on him. The arrow hit behind the front shoulder, quartering away, taking the lung and the heart. The recovery was less than 60 yards. It's been a great hunt, and I tell you, if you've ever experienced getting out here hunting these black bears in the springtime, when the weather's real nice and everything's going good, you just can't beat it. It's been a great hunt.
Glenn's Alaskan Blackie scored a whopping 21 inches. Glenn shoots a High Country Ultra Extreme bow set at 75 pounds. A typical coastal storm moves through, bringing a light drizzle. Let's join Spencer Land as he watches his bait area. Spencer has been sitting for 2 hours when he hears a branch break behind him. He turns to see what must be the ugliest bear on the island. The bear has extremely bad rubs on his head and hide. This is a good-sized black bear. He moves toward the bait, then returns back into the jungle. Spencer's glance back toward the camera tells the story. He can't believe how ugly that bear was. A few minutes later, a different bear appears on the edge of the brush. Now, Spencer knows why Mr. Ugly left so quickly. Once again, you can tell this is a trophy black bear by how small his ears appear, and also the large distance between them. The bear also has a short, broader looking nose. He's probably a candidate for the record book. He grabs a donut and retreats back into the jungle. This behavior is common when 2 or more bears are competing for food. Five minutes later, he re-enters the bait area. Spencer has taken several black bears with archery equipment, and he knows this bear is extremely alert. So he decides to wait for him to feed before drawing his bow.
Hunting here in Alaska is just absolutely gorgeous. Here at Prince of Wales Island, we've seen an awful lot of large black bear. It's been an absolutely fantastic hunt.
The bear he shot, I'd say would score right around 20 inches looking at him, squaring about 7 foot. I tell you, that's an extremely nice first black bear. And you know, I've had the opportunity to shoot your bow, and I think you've done such a great job on it. And I want to thank you for coming up here and hunting with us. It's been a super hunt, and maybe we'll have you on some more hunts with us.
I appreciate you inviting me, Glenn. It's been great.
Spencer Land with his Alaskan Blackie, scoring over 20 inches. Spencer shoots a high country ultra extreme bow. In our last segment, we joined Glenn Barry in northeastern British Columbia as he pursues Canadian moose. This remote wilderness has produced some of the largest moose in the record book. The Drinkall family owns and operates Folding Mountain Outfitters. Their hunting area covers more than 3,000 square miles of pure backcountry. An outfitter is required by law for a non-resident to hunt in BC. We join Glenn and Gary as they glass for moose.
Big. Almost too big.
Now there's grizzlies.
There's a real good bear in here.
Stone sheep.
Yeah, there's stone sheep all around us. There's mule deer. We've seen mule deer here. Black bear. Real good moose. Further down the creek is the start of our own country.
I know you got some big bulls. You guys took several of those out already.
Yeah, we took some good bulls this year.
So this is real typical. Get to a high spot.
Yeah, and glass down into the valleys.
And not only find one bull, but you find as many as you can in case something goes wrong.
Selective, you know. We're looking at a bull right now. My brother's in here 4 or 5 days ago, and he's seen a book moose. Well, we're looking at one right now that's probably close to a book moose, but I don't know if it's the same moose my brother's seen.
When you talk book, you're talking Boone and Crockett.
I'm talking Boone and Crockett.
195 inch, huh?
Yeah.
The Drinkalls have built camps far into the backcountry in prime hunting areas, some having spike cabins like this one. The accommodations of this cabin give the hunters both a wilderness atmosphere and convenience on their hunt. Glenn and Gary ride into the area where they spotted moose the day before. Glenn has taken more big game animals that qualify for the record book in front of a video camera than any other bow hunter in the United States. And he hopes to take a book moose on this hunt. But Glenn knows that the success is in the hunt, not the kill. It's showtime for these hunters. They've ridden within 600 yards of the bull. Glenn only has one question. Can Gary call moose as well as he cooks?
Okay, now what are we gonna do here now?
I'll go underneath and work it up. Remember that them 2 cows are up higher than he is, so we're gonna really have to watch that.
Okay, so we'll go up there and you want to glass the hillside?
I want to look real close, try to figure out where he's at. He's laying down. I can't see him from here.
So what I'll do is I'll set about 30, 40 yards in front of you.
Yeah.
Like sort of like we work out then.
And I'll try to ground him in. That's all we can do.
And then if you don't come in, we're gonna move up again on in and do a second setup. That way we'll push him.
Just remember to be real, movable.
Okay, let's get up there and see if we can glass him. Huh?
All right. Okay, there's 1 cow up high. I think that bull's down below with the other 2 cows. I can't see them. What we'll do is we'll just sneak on forward. We're really gonna have to watch that 1 cow. Okay, so we got a good wind going. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
Just take our time.
All right, you lead the way. You go up and get set up, then I'll come up in front of you, okay?
On their first setup, they take a stand in the low brush, 150 yards from the moose.
Mwah. 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 Mwah.
The bull walks out and looks down the mountain toward Gary. We're covering the action with 2 video cameras, one with the hunters, the other one elevated above the tall brush.
Mwah. Mwah.
The bull looks in their direction as Gary keeps calling.
Mwah.
He motions to Glenn to move up the mountain and cut the bull off. Glenn moves up into the tall brush, and Gary continues to call from his position. As the bull moves closer and looks in their direction, Glenn, who has been pushing through the thick brush, is now within 75 yards of him. Just to give you an example of how tall this brush is, a bull moose stands 7 feet at the shoulders. This tall brush makes it very difficult for Glenn to find a shooting lane. The bull feels a twinge of nervousness as Glenn crashes through the brush. Now, there are 2 cows following the bull. The bull moves between Glenn and Dan Barry, who is operating one of the video cameras. The bull moves up and looks right at Glenn, who is standing 50 yards away. Glenn sees a shooting lane and shoots. The arrow penetrates behind the bull's front shoulder. Cameraman Dan Barry hears something crashing through the brush coming right at him. The 2 cows almost trample him in the confusion. Dan zooms the camera back to the bull as Glenn makes a second shot. Glenn continues to call as the bull crashes down the mountain. Now let's watch that again in slow motion as the second arrow hits within 2 inches of the first.
Damn right. Good one.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice moose.
Boy, that was exciting. I gotta say, I watched hundreds and hundreds of elk come in, but first time on a moose.
He didn't look like he was gonna come, did he?
You did a good job, excellent job. I sure appreciate you. You've been great up here.
Hey, it was good having you. It was fun. Second day moose, you know.
Second day, I tell you what, we seen that one we thought would go around probably, what'd you say, 62, 63
Yeah,
inches?
he's a big bull. Wish we would have been able to get him.
This one right here, he estimates about 50 inches. It's an excellent species of a Canadian moose. You know, when I shot him the first time, and I hit him real good, but then he ran on and he did exactly like you said. He acted like he wasn't even hit, so I put another arrow in the bow and just shot him second time for insurance. And then you watched him run right down here?
Well, yeah, he just come down and he laid down. He was sick.
You guys got an excellent outfitting business here. You know, if I would like to say that if anybody has the opportunity to hunt Canadian moose, Folden Mountain Outfitters here in BC or out of Toad River, they've done an excellent job and they've invited me up here to hunt. And I got to say, this is a premium hunt and it's been a first class. Thank you.
Hey, great having you. You bet.
Glenn Barry's Canadian moose qualified for the Pope and Young record book, and Gary Drinkall has proven that he calls moose as well as he cooks. As they ride down the mountain, Volume 1 comes to a close. But watch for Volume 2 in the quest of the Grand Slam of big game animals. This is Ron Harris, wishing you a very safe and successful hunting trip.